Backdoor. A backdoor denotes any means by which both authorized and unauthorized individuals can circumvent standard security protocols. Once exploited, cybercriminals can leverage backdoors to pilfer personal and financial information, implant supplementary malware, and seize control of devices. These clandestine entry points pose significant risks to digital security and privacy. Rootkit. A rootkit, whether a single program or a suite of malicious software tools, grants a threat actor remote access and control over a computer system. While some instances of rootkits serve legitimate purposes, such as facilitating remote end-user assistance, most are designed to surreptitiously open backdoors on targeted systems. This allows for the introduction of various forms of malware or enables the system to be exploited for further network security breaches. Rootkits are adept at evading detection, often by disabling antivirus software. Removing them can prove challenging or nearly impossible, particularly in cases where the rootkit embeds itself within the kernel, the core program of a computer's operating system, wielding extensive control over system operations. Malware. Anything crafted with the deliberate aim of disrupting a computer, leaking private information, gaining unauthorized access, or denying access to data, all while surreptitiously tampering with a user's computer security and privacy, falls under the category of malware. Virus. A computer virus, a subtype of malware, operates by self-replicating when activated, altering existing computer programs and injecting its own code into them. Successful replication results in the affected sections being termed infected, akin to biological viruses. Typically, viruses necessitate a host program to embed their code, and upon the host program's execution, they execute their own code initially, leading to infection and harm. Their actions commonly lead to system failures, data corruption, resource depletion, elevated maintenance expenses, or the pilfering of personal data. Worm. A computer worm operates independently as a distinct malware program, replicating autonomously to propagate across other computers. Typically leveraging computer networks, it relies on vulnerabilities in target systems to infiltrate them. Once established on new hosts, the worm persistently scans and infects additional computers, utilizing them as platforms for further dissemination. This propagation pattern leads to exponential replication. Worms commonly inflict harm on networks, often by consuming bandwidth, whereas viruses primarily focus on corrupting or altering files within a specific computer. While many worms prioritize spreading and refrain from modifying the systems they traverse, they nevertheless pose a significant threat to network stability and security. Trojan. A Trojan horse refers to any form of malware that deceives users about its true purpose by posing as a legitimate program. Typically, Trojans are disseminated through social engineering tactics, such as tricking users into opening seemingly harmless email attachments or clicking on deceptive advertisements. The extent of damage inflicted by a Trojan horse varies depending on the particular malware in question. Unlike computer viruses and worms, which involve self-replication and spread, Trojans focus solely on infiltrating a computer system. They typically do not seek to embed themselves into other files or propagate further. RAT. RAT, short for Remote Access Trojan, represent a category of malware designed to assume remote control over a computer via the internet. Once your computer is compromised by a rat, the hacker gains the ability to manipulate your system, including moving your mouse, typing commands, accessing your webcam, and recording video footage. However, rats often operate discreetly, functioning primarily as keyloggers to covertly capture personal information without the user's knowledge. Malvertising. Malvertising involves the exploitation of advertising space on well-respected websites to disseminate malware. This strategy aims to target web users who might otherwise be shielded from such ads by firewalls or other security measures. Malvertisements can be disseminated across numerous legitimate websites without directly compromising their integrity. Notably, infections facilitated through malvertising do not necessitate any user interaction, such as clicking, to compromise a computer. Furthermore, they do not exploit vulnerabilities present on the hosting websites. Spyware. This form of malware infiltrates your computer covertly, collecting sensitive data about your online activities, including visited websites, downloads, usernames, passwords, payment details, and email correspondence. Subsequently, this harvested information is typically transmitted to a cyber criminal, who may exploit it for various purposes such as selling or using it illicitly. Keyloggers. Keyloggers is a subtype of a malware, which clandestinely records every keystroke made on a keyboard, forwarding the captured data to the perpetrator. Primarily, passwords and other confidential information are at risk of being stolen if a keylogger is present on a computer, categorizing it as a type of spyware. Ransomware. Ransomware represents a form of malware that effectively renders a victim's personal data and computer inaccessible until a ransom is paid. While basic ransomware may merely lock the system without causing file damage, more sophisticated variants employ a tactic known as crypto extortion. This method involves encrypting the victim's file, essentially holding them hostage until the ransom is fulfilled. Fireleas Malware. It operates solely within a computer memory such as RAM, without leaving any traces on the hard drive. This characteristic renders it challenging to detect and leaves minimal evidence of its activities. Hackers utilize this type of malware for swift and covert operations, like swiftly gathering data, as they are typically erased upon computer reboot. Adware. This phrase typically refers to malware that surreptitiously installs itself onto your system, often during the download of other software, and exhibits advertisements when the user is browsing the internet. Additionally, some of these programs function as spyware, gathering user data for resale or personalized advertising. The most notable of these infections manifest as persistent pop-up windows that cannot be closed. RAM scraper. This term is commonly employed to characterize malware that implants itself onto point-of-sale systems, with the purpose of gathering personal data such as credit card numbers and consumer PINs. DDoS Attack. This occurs when a hacker endeavors to disrupt a computer or network connection by inundating the targeted system or resource with an excessive volume of files, aiming to overwhelm it and obstruct legitimate requests from being fulfilled. In a DDoS attack, the influx of traffic flooding the victim originates from numerous sources, often comprised of other infected computers utilized as bots in a botnet. Browser hijacking. Browser hijacking software is unwelcome software that alters web browser settings without the user's consent. It may inject unwanted advertisements, modify the homepage, or even replace the entire search engine. Often, these programs are inadvertently installed alongside other software packages that include them as a bundled component in their installer. They frequently lack clear uninstallation instructions or are presented in a deliberately confusing manner, aiming to deceive the average user into installing undesired additional software. Cryptojacking. Cryptojacking involves clandestinely harnessing computers' resources to mine cryptocurrencies. Its objective is to operate covertly, maximizing coin production for financial gain. Should your computer fall victim to this scheme, it experiences significant slowdowns and risks potential hardware damage over time. Rogue security software. This type of internet scam deceives users by falsely indicating the presence of a computer virus and persuades them to purchase a counterfeit malware removal tool. In reality, this purported solution installs malware onto their computer. Typically disseminated through malvertising, it capitalizes on users' concerns about computer security. Hybrid malware. This term describes a modern practice of employing two or more types of malware simultaneously in a single attack. Typically, these combinations involve Trojans and worms, or adware and viruses. Brute force attack. This method involves an attacker attempting numerous passwords or passphrases in succession, aiming to guess the correct one eventually. The attacker systematically tests all potential combinations until the correct password is discovered, typically utilizing automated software for efficiency. This attack is more effective against shorter and simpler passwords, as longer ones may require hundreds of years. So that's why many websites implement temporary account or system blocks after repeated failed login attempts to deter such unauthorized access attempts. Wiper. A wiper is a category of malware designed to delete a computer's data without the user's consent, effectively wiping out all valuable information in the process. Social engineering. This is not a technological malware or virus, but rather a prevalent tactic used to install them or acquire confidential information without direct installation. It involves manipulating people psychologically to perform specific actions or disclose sensitive information. Phishing. This scam involves tricking individuals into divulging sensitive information or installing malicious software. Typically, it occurs via email, with the attacker impersonating a trusted entity like a bank and directing the victim to a website that closely mimics a legitimate one. Upon logging in with their password, the victim unwittingly sends it to the attacker. Phone calls can also be used, with the attacker spoofing their number to seem genuine, or through SMS messages.